Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 11th verse of the 5th chapter of the first canto Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tadvag visargo janatagha viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhyavatyapi namani anantasya yashonkitani yat shrunvanti gayanti grinanti sadhavaha. The meaning of this verse is, on the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So much is packed in one verse. This is a compilation by the great sage Vyasadeva. Wonderful composition of these verses. So let us try to understand this verse a little part by part, little bit at a time. In a previous verse, the 10th verse, it was described that there is one class of people like crow class. They are interested in literature which is not at all containing any glorification of the Supreme Lord, but is containing some mundane news, mundane information like that. So that is, in Sanskrit we say Gramya Katha, village gossip. So simply they'll be talking about something which is wasting their valuable time in the human form of life. They'll be discussing only about eating, sleeping, mating, defending. They don't have any higher aim in life. They don't have any understanding who they are. They don't know what is this world. They simply are interested in some sense gratification. That's all. So such people, they are considered to be like the crows. The crows are always searching for some garbage. And in the garbage, they will try to find something. What is there in garbage which is worthwhile? Nothing is worthwhile. It is garbage. It is discarded. It is thrown. It is refuse. But the crow class of men, they take pleasure in such garbage literature. And now this verse, 11th verse, in contrast, is describing another kind of literature. There are these swan class of men, Hamsas or Paramahamsas. They know what is the aim of life. They understand human form of life is very valuable. And such swan class of men, they are interested in those literature which contain the glorification of the Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes, etc. Namani Anantasya, the names of the Supreme Lord who is called Ananta, unlimited Lord. Yashonkitaniyat, and also contains the glories of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is full of so much glories because He is the source of everything. His pastimes are wonderful pastimes. His qualities are wonderful qualities. His form is very, very beautiful form. He has got unlimited names according to His unlimited activities. So that Supreme Lord Krishna, Krishna means all attractive. But Krishna is attractive for those who are transcendentalists, Hamsa class of men, Swan class of men. They are not, the Swan class of men are not interested in garbage literature, some mundane literature, no. So, about such literature, which is specially meant for these Swan class of men, this verse is telling, Tadvag Visargo, the creation of this kind of literature, which contains the glories of the Supreme Lord, Janata Aghaviplavaha, it brings about a revolution in the hearts of the men who read such literature containing the glories of the Lord. What is the revolution it brings about? It destroys all the sinful reactions. Agha means sinful reactions. So it destroys all the sinful reactions. It's got that spiritual potency, the glories of the Lord. Even if such literature is not very perfectly composed, Yasmin Pratishlokam, every verse of such literature, Abadhavati api, even if it is imperfectly, improperly composed. But still, the Swan class of men value such literature simply because it contains the glories of the name, of the form, of the qualities, of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namani Anantasya Yashonkitani Yat Shrunvanti, such Swan class of men hear to descriptions. Gayanti, they themselves also broadcast, they sing, they propagate. Grinanti, they accept it as, genuinely they accept it as very, very good literature, very nice literature. Sadhavaha, what kind of people? Purified men who are thoroughly honest. They are purified. And they are honest. They are being very honest when they reject that garbage class of literature, crow class of men, which the crow class of men take interest, the Swan class of men reject. So they are thoroughly honest. They are not interested in wasting time. They are not interested in mundane news, village gossip. They are not interested in that. So such purified men who are thoroughly honest, their interest is in literature which contains the glories of the Supreme Lord. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that it's a qualification of great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. Great thinkers. thoughtful men, thoughtful persons. What is the example given in the scriptures? It is said, the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison. Vishadapi amritam grahyam. If there is a pot of poison, definitely poison is very dangerous. Nobody is interested in poison. So they will stay away. But it is said in the Shastra that for an intelligent person, even if there is little nectar in a stalk of poison, he'll pick it up. Nectar is nectar. Nectar is very valuable. And it is said the intelligent person should accept gold even from a filthy place. Now, gold is a noble metal. It doesn't get contaminated. So, if there is gold in a place where there is so much of rubbish, will you reject gold? An intelligent person will not. He will take that because gold is always uncontaminated. And an intelligent person should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family. Generally, in a cultured society, if a person wants to marry, then such a person will select a good wife from a cultured family, from a proper family background. But here it is said, if there is a good and qualified wife, then one may accept such a wife even though she may not be from a very cultured family. Because of her own individual qualification, which is very, very good, she is to be accepted, not to be rejected. And the last point is that an intelligent person should accept a good lesson even from a man or a teacher who comes from the untouchables. Those who don't have good habits, those who are very, very, very less intelligent, those who are addicted to sinful activities, they are placed in the lowest category of human beings in the human society. But if there is a person who happens to be, who happens to have taken birth in such a untouchable family, but he is a very good teacher, or he can give a very good lesson, then nobody should hesitate to accept such lessons or good knowledge from a person, even though he may belong to untouchable category of people. So, Srila Prabhupada says these are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. These are ethical instructions in the Shastras. But as far as a saintly person is concerned, Srila Prabhupada says, a saintly person is far above the level of an ordinary man. A saintly person is not just merely having some worldly wisdom. No. A saintly person is considered saintly because such a person is always absorbed in glorifying the Lord, Supreme Lord. He is not concerned with either material good or material bad. No. A saintly person is always absorbed in transcendence and always busy glorifying the Supreme Lord, broadcasting the glories of the holy name, fame, form, pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And such a saintly person is interested in purifying the polluted atmosphere of the material world. That's the interest. As a result of propagating the Srimad-Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, people will become sane in their transactions. Otherwise, especially in Kali Yuga, the transactions or dealings between people is so much of hypocrisy, so much of cheating, so much of lying, hiding facts, distorting facts. This is going on. Whereas the polluted atmosphere of the world, if it is changed by propagating transcendental values, then people will become sane in their transactions. Now, when Srila Prabhupada was composing or compiling this Bhagavatam from the original Bhagavatam, the Sanskrit verses, and Prabhupada has translated the verses and given the English meaning, and also written a commentary or a purport for the verses, explaining the verse. At that time, this was sometime in 1962, there was a war between China and India. And Prabhupada is telling, while we are preparing the commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad-Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. What is that crisis? Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. China has attacked India. On the day on which Prabhupada was writing this commentary on the 11th verse of the 5th chapter of 1st canto of Bhagavatam. Then Prabhupada says, we have practically no business in the political field. As a saintly person, will not be interested in politics or political agenda of some people of the country. Yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. Prabhupada is remarking, we have knowledge of history that China and India have been living with a common border for centuries without any bad feeling, without any ill will. They've been living. Now, why suddenly this animosity, this inimical feeling, attack by China? Why? Prabhupada said the reason is that they lived in those early days in an atmosphere of God consciousness. And every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted, and simple. There was no question of political diplomacy. People were very simple, straightforward. And they were God-fearing. They were having God consciousness. But now what has happened? As long as they were God conscious, there was no question of any quarrel between India and China. Now, the cause of the quarrel is being pointed out by Srila Prabhupada, that it is because the two countries are interested in a piece of land on the border, which is not suitable for habitation by civilized human beings. And therefore, Prabhupada says, there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But it is due to the age of Kali, or the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, that there is always a chance of quarrel or fighting on slight provocation. What has happened in Kali Yuga is there is a propaganda by one section of people of the society to stop the glorification of the name and form and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. There are people who are against this. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad-Bhagavatam all over the world. Not only between India and China, but there are wars, some differences, some fighting going on between two or more nations. So therefore, the duty of every responsible Indian is to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad-Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita throughout the world, to do the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Everybody wants peace. Nobody likes agitation. But sometimes the society becomes very much agitated due to some war or some quarrel or some cheating or hypocrisy or whatever. So at such a time, Prabhupada says, we are confident if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart. See, transcendental literature, it may or may not produce some external changes in people's way of dressing or way of talking, etc. May or may not change. But certainly, spiritually potent literature will penetrate the heart and bring about a change of heart permanently in the life of any person. So that is the standard of the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada says, if at all there is a change of heart in the leaders, then the whole world, the atmosphere can be made very nice. So there is a need now for this Bhagavatam to be propagated, to be spread, to be educated. People should get educated about what Bhagavatam is talking about. So therefore, Prabhupada is telling there is a need to propagate this Bhagavatam, and it will actually bring about real peace and prosperity in the society, as even a small section of the people who are special leaders, they take up to reading Bhagavatam.